This session is going to be recorded, and as always, will be shared in a blog and in an email afterwards, so you'll have access to that. I am presenting with Kaitlyn today, so I'm sure if you've been to a webinar before, you're probably sick of my face, so we like to bring in some new people, and we have one of our consultants, Kaitlyn, who is presenting with me today. So I'll let Kaitlyn introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kaitlyn Hines. I'm a SAP consultant here with Pioneer B1. I'm also a support specialist, and I've been working really closely with 10.0 and all of its updates the past year, so I'm excited to get into this.
Beautiful. All right, so as we go through, as always, feel free to add any questions to the chat that you may have. We'll be keeping an eye on that, and we'll answer any questions as we go through, and we'll have some time at the end that we save for Q&A as well. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and get started. So like we said, this is our 10.0 webinar. We are covering, we've done a 10.0 webinar one time before, last year, almost a year ago to the date. We covered 10.0, but we wanted to bring it back into the spotlight to give some more visibility into what some of those key features are that are available in 10.0, some that we covered in that previous webinar, but also some of the more recent updates that have been made available throughout the patches since we presented this last year. So our big objective today really is to give you guys insight into what those key enhancements are, what the additional functionality is that has been delivered throughout the patches, and hopefully get you excited to upgrade to 10.0. And if anybody here is already upgraded to 10.0, hopefully we can give you some tips and tricks along the way. So first, we will review the web client. We're doing kind of a spotlight on the web client here. That is we'll talk about it more in a second, but that's a new web-based interface that's available for both SQL and HANA clients. And really excited to take you through that and through all the analytics capabilities. Then we'll go through some of those key features, a little bit of a recap of some that we've covered before, and then talk about all of those recent patch updates. As always, we'll give you guys, reports, analytics throughout, and documentation and Q&A as well. Perfect. And just a precursor for any of our clients, whether you are using a SQL database or a HANA database, everything that we're covering today in the webinar is available or applicable to you. So first, like I said, we're starting out with our web client, and I'm really excited about this new interface that's available. So it is, like I said, available for both SQL and HANA clients without any additional fees. You do have to install the web client component, but we can help you out with that. It's desktop and tablet compatible, so you'll get to see that in just a second once we jump into the live demo. And if you are, logging in through your desktop on the web browser or, even on the tablet, Chrome, Firefox, and Safari are SAP's recommended web browsers for accessing this web client. A couple of things to note about this web client as it stands now. It is geared towards more sales and purchasing side of things. So it doesn't exactly mirror all of the functionality that's available in your standard SAP interface, but it is, throughout the patches that are being released, that functionality is expanding all the time. So right now, really sales and purchasing focused, financials, analytics, but they are expanding. And then all of your authorizations, licenses, everything that is defined in SAP remains in effect with this web client. So you don't have to worry about maybe users who have limited authorizations accessing things that they shouldn't be able to in this new interface. A couple things to note about some of the new enhancements that are coming out, and I've gotten to take a peek at some of those actually, and I'm really excited on the opportunities side. They are releasing opportunities management to this web client. So now you have not only support for your sales documents like your sales order, delivery invoices, but you're going to have that access to manage your sales pipeline through the opportunities. And then they're extending the sales support as well. So offering management for returns, credit memos, and reserve invoices. So without further ado, we will jump into our live demo portion. Perfect. So this is our web client interface, the main homepage of the web client. I'm already logged in here, but if you're not logged in, it's really similar to how you log into SAP. You select your database, enter your username and password, and then, like I said, all of those authorizations and license setup is brought into this web client. So just from a general overview point of view, we're going to look at kind of some of the general overview and navigation first, and then I'm going to jump into the fun part, all of the analytics that are available in this web client. And it's available kind of transactionally, so you are able to process things like sales orders, deliveries, invoices, which is wonderful. But to me, the big impact of this web client is really the robust analytics that are available for any of those documents, and I'll show you what I mean there. So we'll get into kind of the analytics side of things first, and then show some of those transactional things, how you process a sales order, copying to a delivery or an invoice, or those sorts of things. All right, so on your main kind of homepage here, you can still navigate through the web client through this side menu. So it is, familiar to how you're used to navigating in SAP. But you also have, for those of our clients that are using a HANA database, you may be more familiar with this cockpit type of navigation. So this web client does offer that cockpit type of navigation and brings it to our SQL clients who, haven't had access to this in the past. It has, like I said, more sales and purchasing focus, business partners, items, analytics, all of those things. But I want to jump into the analytics piece of it first. So, like I said, this web client has very robust analytics capabilities. We'll go ahead and take a look at one of those. So our inventory status overview, for example. So for those HANA clients, you're maybe used to these cockpits or widgets. You're able to create them, add them to your home screen, and that sort of thing. And what this web client allows you to do is create analytics for all different areas of your business. So right now we're looking at kind of an inventory status overview. We have multiple ways to view this data. So I've created some special views here, but out of the box, the web client already comes with all of these different dashboards set up for you. Now, the really great thing is throughout this, and we'll look on, the sales order side and the transactional side, how we can do this. But within this view, we have kind of the defaults, what SAP thinks are some good KPIs for us. But of course, every business is different, and we want to be able to, really see our data and analyze our data in a way that's most beneficial for us. And so what we can do on any of the screens within the web client is filter, sort, group, and update these, these dashboards in a really, really user-friendly way. So right now you can see we have a few different filters that are available, that kind of available right out of the box in that standard setup. And we're able to use these filters to then update, those visualizations down there. So maybe we want to just see, an inventory status for a few of our item groups. We can make that update there on the filter and get a more kind of granular view of those specific item groups. We can also adapt these filters. So, it's great to have the item groups, item code description, but there may be some other fields that we want to see that are useful for us to be able to filter and sort this data. Maybe warehouse or things like that. So we can add those. We adapt our filters, and now you can see that we have this warehouse name there that we're able to filter and sort this data. We can also edit this view. So it comes with a few different visualizations right out of the box. But if we want to edit any of these specifically or create new ones, we can do that very simply just with that button there. So for instance, this in-stock value, this is, great information for us to have. So what's the value of the goods in our different warehouses that we have in stock? However, from a visualization point of view, it's a little bit hard. Right now, we're looking at on an item code by item code basis, and maybe a little bit difficult for us to kind of use this data just looking at it specifically from item code. Maybe it's easier to look at it from an item group level, so we can save that visualization or kind of save that view, and now we can finish our editing. And now we have our in-stock value by item group instead. So let's say we want to take a look at a specific item group. It looks like in our main warehouse, we have quite high item value for this specific item group. So these charts here are not just pretty pictures. We're able to actually, select the data and look at some more details relating to this information. Now, if we want to drill in and get even more information here, we can click right on that view or that visualization there. And this is nice, but maybe we want to see it in more of a graphical or a different type of bar chart or pie chart. We're able to, really simply create these different views here. If you want to save these, you can save them as a tile, so we can add that to our main screen. So we always have, this chart handy for us. Our work is saved and we have it easily accessed from our home screen as a tile. Again, we have all of this ability to, adapt our filters, filter this data, and update, these different charts and things to help us see the data that we want to see. We can also save this as a specific view. So right now we had that item groups view, but we can always save this as a new view so that we can get back to it from that dashboard. So there are a lot of different options to really, view and kind of manipulate and analyze your data.
Hey, Beth, it looks like we have a question in the chat from Ali saying, I installed Web Client and SQL and SAP 10 patch level 2. Is there any tweak that needs to be done for it to work?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I answered Ali privately. In patch level 2, there is a bug in the web client, but we were able to recover it. One of our consultants found the workaround, and I asked Ali to send me a personal email, and I could share with him the workaround.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Sure.
Wonderful.
Another question I got, how many of our clients have upgraded to 10.0? So I would say we have between maybe a few clients that got on board with 10.0 off the bat, maybe 5 and maybe additional 5 upgrades so far.
Perfect. All right, so again, if you have any questions about the analytics piece, feel free to pop them in the chat and we're happy to answer any of those. So kind of moving on, for those of you that do have HANA, you may be familiar with what's called the enterprise search, or maybe you're not, and this will be a fun tip for you. But there's an enterprise search available with the HANA database that I like to call the internal Google search. So what it does is allows you to enter any kind of keyword, really anything, and it searches your database for that information. So whether it be an item number, a sales order number, a name, anything like that, and it searches your database. So this functionality, this enterprise search, has been included in the web client and is really, really helpful for a lot of use cases for it. But let's say, for instance, you have a customer that's called in, Joe Schmo called in. He has a question about a recent delivery. He hasn't been invoiced for it yet. you're on the phone and you really need to be able to react and search and find things in real time. So what we can do, we can search all kinds of things. Maybe he gives us the item number or the sales order number or anything like that. But maybe he doesn't. Maybe we just have his name here. So we know he's Joe Schmo. We can go ahead and search for him there. And then you'll see this enterprise search has now come back with a whole list of results. So it's bringing in details from different activities, different calls that we've had with him, the business partner record that we can drill in and see more information, and also some of those transactional documents. So documents where he was the contact person on the invoice, delivery, quotation, all of that. We can remove those filters or show them there, but let's say we want to see a maybe specific delivery that he's calling about, or a specific order that he's calling about. So we can search here. Now we're just filtering by sales orders. It seems like he hasn't been invoiced for it yet, so it's going to be an open sales order that we're looking for. And it looks like it was delivered in this past year sometime. So we have all of these filters that, as we're talking to Joe Schmo in real time, we can start to kind of find the information that we're looking for if we don't have it readily available. That contact person is Joe Schmo, and maybe he said he worked with Brad on that sales order. So we know the salesperson is Brad. So now with all of that filtering, we've narrowed it down from, a couple hundred results in the sales order to 10 results. We can find, which document that he's talking about, which, sales order has been delivered, not yet invoiced, and we can drill in there and get a little bit more information. Maybe see, if there are any notes added to that sales order, why exactly it hasn't been invoiced yet. So through that enterprise search and clicking and drilling in, just like in SAP where you have the golden arrow drill in functionality or drill down functionality, you have that available in the web client as well. So we're able to drill in from those search results, see our sales order, and then continue that conversation with Joe Schmo, understand what's going on. We also have the relationship map. In this case, it's just a sales order here with no delivery. So maybe that's not the one that he was talking about. And, maybe he's telling us, oh, no, I remember it. It's this sales order. We can go find that, look at our relationship map, or continue searching. We also have, if you're familiar with the tooltip preview that's available in SAP, the web client has its own type of tooltip preview available as well right here. So instead of needing to drill down directly into that business partner record, you can do that. But instead of having to do that, you can simply click right there and you have a type of tooltip preview available for you there. You can view more in current tab, or if you do want to drill into that business partner master data and see a bit more information, you're able to drill down and see that same business partner information. All right, so again, any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. We will look at, I do want to show kind of the relationship map and what that looks like. So let's say I know there's a case, there's a sales order that I have, it's been invoiced, but there was an issue with the invoice, so we had to cancel it. So we can look for that sales order. I know it's 1225. Sales order is closed, it's been delivered. And it's from Maxitech. Now, when we check our relationship map, just like you have in the standard SAP client, you have a relationship map here that's always going to give you that audit trail of kind of the journey of your document. So from this sales order view, we can now see where it's gone. It's gone to the delivery. There was an issue with the invoice, so we processed a cancellation invoice, and this delivery is still open. And just like you can do in the standard SAP client, you're always able to drill down and see more details there about your delivery. From here, from a kind of transactional level, so I covered a little bit of the analytics. There's still a little bit more I want to show, but from a transactional level, everything from, copying the documents, adding, duplicating, everything that you're able to do on that front is also available on in the web client. So you are able to edit any documents here. If you want to duplicate a delivery or copy it to an invoice, maybe we've solved the issue with this invoice. We'd canceled the other one, and now we can copy this to an invoice and close that loop there. So transactionally, we still have all of that functionality in the web client that we do in our SAP Business One, interface that you're used to. So we'll go ahead and copy this delivery to an invoice. It does all of the same kind of process. It's bringing over, your customer information, our item information, prices, all of that good kind of stuff. We still have that those remarks and that visibility from our relationship map. So we'll know that this invoice is tied to that delivery. And as soon as we add this invoice in our web client, we're now seeing that in real time in SAP. Another quick tip about 10.0, if you weren't familiar with this yet, in both the SAP client and the web client, we have an add in view, add in new, or add in back. So maybe if we're adding lots of AR invoices, we just want to add and new. In this case, this is a serial or batch item, so we need to define that, and we could do that process as well. All right, so the last thing that I want to cover on the sales order side, we looked at some of the analytics piece in more of a kind of dashboarding format. So when we looked at that inventory status, but like I said, on the transactional level, this is still available as well, all of these analytics capabilities. So right there from my home screen, I clicked on my little sales order icon. And I want to be able to, analyze my sales orders and, understand a little bit more what's going on with all of my open sales orders. I have about, almost 300 open sales orders. So we want to do a little bit of work and analysis here. So just like that inventory status report, the web client comes out of the box with lots of different views for the sales orders. We can look at my open sales orders, all sales orders, maybe some sales back orders. So we can see we have quite a few items on back order. Now, this is nice. This view is really nice to kind of help us see the details of everything. But there's a lot more that, we might want to do to be able to actually take action on these, like fulfill these back orders. So for instance, if we're looking at back orders, we may want to see what our document total is. So we can search for that and add that to our little matrix down here. And we want to see what's been paid to date. So most likely we want to fulfill those back orders that have the most payment on them. So we can do that. We have these fields added now. Then we can always go back in here and start grouping things. So let's say I want to see by customer. So we'll add that in there. And then I want to see maybe by item. So by customer, by item, what does my back order status look like? And now we've grouped all of this data, so it's a lot easier to manage. Now we can check out for our different customers, what items that they have on back order, what's been paid. So we'll go down to, maybe someone who has a little bit more on payment here. Looks like in our back orders, we have some back orders for these items. This client has paid almost all of what they owe on there. And we can see here that they ordered 16 and we have more than enough in our warehouse to fulfill that order. So we'll want to be able to take action on that. So all of these different, analytics that are available really help us, get that visibility into our data and start to take action on those things. And then just like we did on the inventory side, of course, we can save this view here. So if we want to save, back order group, We can set it as our default view. So every time we go in and look at our sales orders, we can now always see this view. We don't have to do that work again. And we can make it public so that other users in our organization can also have access to that view. And then just like we did before, we're able to visualize this data. So we can group it right now. It looks a little crazy, but we're able to make adjustments and group this data how we'd like to see it. All right, so let me know if there are any other questions kind of on the web client side or anything you'd like to see. Otherwise, we'll kind of move into the key features. Before I do that, just a couple notes on here of things we didn't look at, but I wanted to make a note of. You are able to access your draft documents from the web client and update draft documents. You also have these notifications that are available. So at this time, the approval process isn't fully supported under the web client, but portions of it are. So for the authorizer or the originator of an approval document, they are able to generate that in the web client, and they're able to, still see that notification that the document has been generated. They can add it to the system from here. They also have notifications of different tasks or activities. So you have visibility to those documents in the approval process as well. Perfect. So if there are no other questions, we're going to jump into some of the key features that were available with 10.0 that we covered in that first webinar, but are really important and really important to mention and to give you visibility to. So first, since we're talking about approvals, wanted to mention one of the things that I was really excited to see in 10.0, this new approval functionality that's available. So I'll jump into our general settings here. And 9.3, if you're familiar with any of the updates that happen in 9.3, these two little check boxes here really expanded really expanded the functionality for approvals, and what they did in 10.3 built on that. So I won't go over the 9.3 functionality. If you have any questions, let me know, or check out our 9.3 documentation on our website. Otherwise, we have this new setting available in 10.0 that allows the authorizer or the approver of a document to update that document if it's in a pending status. So what that means is that if you're in the middle of an approval process, instead of, the approver, if they need to make a small change, maybe the discount's too large, prior to 10.0, they would have to reject the document. It would get sent back. They would have to make a note, and there were, lots more steps and clicks and people involved in maybe making a small adjustment to that approval. So now 10.0 allows you to decide if you want to give that authorizer permission to make those updates without having to go back through that process. Beyond that, we had some updates with our formatted searches. So for those of you that use formatted searches, previously you only had one trigger, so one different field could trigger a formatted search on another field. Now in 10.0, you do have the option to create multiple triggers on your formatted searches. So if we go in here, we're not on a form, but on our user-defined values, we can add multiple triggers there. So that helps. Let's say if we want to have a calculated field that's being updated based on values in another field. Another thing kind of from the administrative point of view, or the kind of high-level admin point of view, on the UDF side, we're now able to edit UDFs in the line level. You have the choice to edit UDFs in the line level if you need. And then they've also extended support, UDF support, to lots of additional objects. So one of them that I was really excited to see was our preferred vendors. We'll provide the whole list in our documentation, but one of them that I was excited to see was the preferred vendors form. So now I've created, this is a user-defined field, this lead times here, but adding this, now I can see as I'm making purchasing decisions, if I'm needing to expedite a purchase, I can add this field here and make decisions based off of that additional information, whereas I wasn't able to do that prior to 10.0. All right, on the reporting side in 10.0, there were quite a few reporting enhancements or reports that became available that are new to 10.0. One of those being the Fifo Layers report. So this Fifo Layers report is going to display those cost layers for any Fifo managed items. So if we run this report here, we can expand, and now we see in our different warehouses, our different layers, we have that drill down capability to drill down and see more details about those documents and their effects on our cost layers. On the same note, if anybody is using serial or batch managed items, 10.0 introduced both a forward and reverse serial and batch trace report. So this is really, really beneficial for, let's say if you're in an industry where you may have recalls or things like that, where you need to trace a batch back to its origin, or if you have, recognized a defect in a component of a certain item and you want to reach out to all of your customers that, have received that item. This is our forward and batch reports that can do that. Additionally, on the reporting side, any of our financial reports, so we'll just run this standard balance sheet report. All of our financial reports now have that drill down capability as well. So instead of having to run your financial report, go back to your chart of accounts and view that information, we can drill down right from our financial reports. All right, and the last couple things to mention are more master data related. So again, this is not an exhaustive list of the key features. You can check out, and we'll provide documentation to our last 10.0 webinar that has lots more features available as well. But these are some of the ones that were kind of most key or most crucial to mention. So on the master data side, couple big enhancements that were made. One of them, we can check out our business partner master data. So previously, this address ID, right now, I'm able to update this address ID if I need to make changes or adjustments. But a lot of our, other forms in SAP have a, maybe unique identifier. So this, our addresses before 10.0 didn't have a kind of unique identifier field since this address was able to be updated. So what 10.0 has introduced is the option to restrict updating to this. It's just a checkbox in our settings, but this allows us to maintain a unique identifier for our address and not have, accidental updates or things like that. So we maintain consistency across any reporting or, any of our transactions with this address ID. Additionally, on our addresses side, so some of you may have run into this before, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. But if you have a ship to address, and maybe this is Suite 1, right? So you have some addresses that have that information, but there are some addresses that don't have suite numbers. And in your crystal reports, your document layouts, you may see a blank line there because it's saving that blank line or kind of leaving that space open for those different addresses that have a suite number. So 10.0 introduced, it's really, really simple, but 10.0 introduced this option in the address format to hide empty address lines. So if you ever have a case like that where your setup is, here where we always are saving. There we go. All right, if you ever have a case like that where it is saving and kind of keeping that blank line, really easily now you can hide that empty address line. Another one on our, both of our master data, actually, our item and our business partner master data, our authorizations have been extended to allow for tab level authorizations. So what that means, previously, we could control authorizations for, a business partner master data, for instance. We would have maybe, full authorization, or they could just view it, or maybe they had no authorization. Now you can control that right down to the tab level. So maybe you do want to allow them to view, everything, but not necessarily some of the accounting or payment terms or some of those more, confidential financial information. So you can control a user access right down to the tab level. And then last but not least, on our item master data side or our business partner master data side, for those of you that are using bill of materials, you may know on any of your documents, when you go to drill in to an item that has a bill of materials attached, instead of drilling into the item details, it drills into the bill of materials. And then you have to take another step and drill into your item master data, which is only, it's an extra click, but it's taking that time and you need that information more quickly. So 10.0 has added this option in our general settings to allow you to drill right into the bill of material, or right into the item master data rather than the bill of materials. So you'll see that right here. That way, when you click that golden arrow drill down, you'll go right into your item master instead of the bill of materials.
And Beth, this is a great timing maybe to stop for a couple of questions as related actually to that. So we have one question in the chat. Are there any updates about inventory master data or on MRP modules? That's the first question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So this was one piece. I know Kaitlyn's going to cover another one having to do with the last prices report on the item master data. A couple small ones there. I'm not familiar with any enhancements that have been made on the MRP side, but I can look into that and kind of see. So if you'd like to shoot me an email, I can kind of get you a collated list of item master data and check on the MRP for you.
Thank you, Beth. Another question, is the authorization at the tab level only available in business partners? Any other master data? I believe it's for BPs as well as for item master data, right, Beth?
Yeah, yep, I think so. So if we go into our item master data, it's available there. The only one I'm not sure about is fixed assets master data, so we could check on that. Okay, so it looks like it is available. Well, no, not for that. But yeah, so it looks like just BP and item master data.
Yep, good. Thank you, Beth. I think that's it with the questions here in the chat for now.
All right, wonderful. So I will go ahead and pass the controls over to Kaitlyn, and she's going to walk us through some of the more recent updates that have been delivered in 10.0. And Kaitlyn, you're muted if you are trying to talk.
Still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
There you go.
There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. But thanks for reviewing those key features, Beth. Jumping into the newer updates that we haven't covered since our last webinar. I know a lot of times there are queries that users will run every day, multiple times a day, and you would typically get to those by going to your tools, queries, and your query manager, or if you didn't know about this button up here, there you can get to your query manager directly from there. And let's say I every day run the sales quote conversion rates. Now I'm able to assign it directly to my main menu by clicking this main menu item button up here. You can drill into this parent menu ID here, and I want to add this to my sales AR menu. I've placed it right at the top of the menu, and then you can see when I open up my sales AR, here, this is another good tip. It looks like we might need to refresh it real quick. You can see here that the query is right here. And this form settings is a really good way you can make modules visible or invisible in the main menu, and then you can go in and you see the query is right here, so it's one click away. And then once I'm in here and it's easier, here's another great tip. You're able to right click and copy table. So this function allows users to take copy information from SAP into Excel for further enhancements. But now with the 10.0 updates, there is a authorization, so you can limit which users have access to that copy table function or not. Moving on, there's also been more simplified enhancements with the updated alerts management window. So when we come in here, this is, if I drill in here, this is typically the window that most users are used to seeing. There have been some updates to this window. Now you're able to hide the locked users, so you don't have to accidentally add them to the alerts management. You can also only display users with assigned to this alert. So typically in the past, users would have to drill in here to make this alert active or inactive, or to add new users to it. With this updated alerts management window, you're able to view all active, inactive, or all of your alerts. And so this is really simplifies it. You can, in a batch manner, select multiple alerts and make them remove the user's alerts, set them to active, inactive, or even create a new alert from this window. You also have a better bird's eye view. You can see up here, these are some out-of-the-box alerts, but this BP info alert we have created ourselves. So we can drill in here to look at the saved query, we can look at the frequency we've set it to, and we can also look at the recurrence period we have set it to. Moving on, is a feature that I'm very excited about. I'm sure most of you are familiar with user-defined tables, and we also have an import from Excel tool. So now, the import from Excel tool has always had the ability to import business partners, items, price lists, but now they have a new feature where you're able to import user-defined tables into SAP instead of going through your tools, customization tools, and creating a table that way.
It looks like we may have a question in the, oh, okay. Nope, we don't have a question in the chat. Sorry about that. It was just a thank you.
All good. All right. Moving on, kind of the last high level, kind of the last high level authorization I want to look at would be an enhancement in the journal entry. And so this is what SAP did to be consistent amongst their transactional documents. So now if I want to create a journal, a manual journal entry, and if I try to add it, this pop-up window will appear saying that I cannot change the journal entries after adding them. Do you want to continue? The reason they added this is because they want to stay consistent amongst all transactional documents. So this is just a warning saying, you are going to make a change at a transactional level. Do you want to continue? If you don't want to see this message all the time, let's say you enter 20 journal entries a day, you just click no, don't show this message again, and you should not see it anymore. Okay, moving on, unless there's a question.
Yep, so there is a question. Is there any report to do raw material planning, or will be able to create any raw material planning on the new version? So I think kind of an MRP question as well for purchasing of raw materials. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, it seems like it. And as we said, the raw material planning is already there, part of MRP, but there is nothing new in the new version as related to MRP features.
We have done a webinar about that in the past, so feel free to check out our YouTube or shoot me an email, and we can get you that link to get more information on the MRP.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. So moving on, I want to touch on they're really quality of life enhancements within SAP. So the first one is looking at the shipping types set up here. Previously, you were not able to activate or inactivate shipping types. Now you have this feature here. You can just quick select to make shipping type inactive. The reason you're not able to delete them is because for auditability, you want to be able to look back and see, oh, we have used UPS ground shipping in the past for certain orders. So now you can just inactivate it. It won't show up in your shipping types list when you are creating that packing slip or delivery. Moving on, another inactive quality of life update is in the unit of measure groups. You can see here, I'll drill into this paper group, and I am now able to activate or inactivate quantity types. So again, for auditability, you don't want to delete these group definitions, but if you don't want them to show up in the list, so you can minimize human error and declare the user interface, you can just inactivate these unit of measures here. And finally, just to touch on it, you are also able to hide inactive contact people on the business partner master data level. So moving ahead, here is a great tip. Let's see. In a sales order, you would be able to drill into your unit price and hit Control Tab to view your last prices report. So let's say you have a customer who is calling you asking about why they are being quoted for a certain price for an item when they know they've paid less for it. Previously, you would have to go to a specific sales order to look at the sales price report. But now, a new update in 10.0, you can go directly into the item master data. Let's say the customer doesn't know their exact sales order number at the time. You can right-click last prices, and you can view the last prices report directly from the item master data. You can choose a specific business partner, customers, vendors, just click refresh, and you can see any price that has been associated with this item at any point in time. Moving forward, this is an additional kind of quality of life enhancement. If we go to the purchasing data tab at the preferred vendor level, typically you would need to know what this business partner code, what their name was, or you would have to drill in to look at the business partner master data to see the name of the business partner. But now it'll save you a click. They keep the vendor name right next to this preferred vendor field. Also, a great enhancement that I'm very excited about is if you have an item that is associated with the bill of materials, you used to not be able to select or deselect these sales or purchase items, but now you are able to. So in the past, if you wanted, let's say you were selling a spare part that you were also using, let's say a gear to create a bicycle, you sold bicycles and you sold the parts for bicycles, you no longer want to sell the gear, you would have to duplicate your item, reassign it to be not a sales item, reassign it to the bill of materials, and it was just a long process. But now just with a simple click, you're good to go. Moving on, speaking of bill of materials, I want to show everyone a great feature called the bill of materials management window. This was a window that was created in, I believe, 9.3. So here is where you can make mass changes to your bill of materials. Originally in 9.3, you could change the BOM lines, add BOM lines, delete BOM lines, but now with the 10.0 enhancements, you are able to mass delete bill of materials at one time by selecting this delete bill of materials header. So let's say you no longer are producing a full line of bicycles. You can just delete all of the bill of materials for each product at once.
Awesome. We have a question in the chat. Maybe send it directly to us. Any licenses changes for web client? The answer is every user that have access to SAP, either professional or limited, will have access to the web client, assuming the web client is enabled, because there needs to be a small installation of the web client. But yeah, you could use the traditional user interface or the web client, and you can work on both simultaneously if needed.
Okay, great. Thank you, Oren. Another feature I would like to draw attention to is this checks field here at the header of the business partner master data. So we've always had the account balance option, or if you wanted to look at checks or any banking information for a business partner, you would come into this banking module, and there's multiple different reports that you could be running. But now with the 10.0 enhancements, you can drill right into here, and you can look at all of the checks amounts, incoming payments that this business partner has associated. Also, I would like to point out on this payment terms tab of the business partner master data, you're now able to consider prices before discount group as effective price when you're adding a marketing document. So you can see here, there's this effective price list. You can set default priority, lowest price, or highest price. So how there are different prices associated with different items, you can determine which type of price you want this business partner to be associated with. And it also accounts for the discount groups as well. Moving on, previously, for our clients who are using consolidating BPs, you used to only be able to set this up, either payment or delivery consolidation, on the business partner master data window. But now with the new enhancement, you're able to set that up on a per document level. So for example, if we go into an AR invoice on the accounting tab, you can see here, you can set up your consolidation type and consolidating business partner right here. And you should note that once the document has been added, you are not able to change this field. And there are 13 additional documents now that you are able to set this up at. I also would like to point out, if I pull up a sales order, there is a new document status where it'll be open, semicolon printed. You can also show this for an email. So if you have printed a document or if you have emailed a document, users will be able to see the status of that here. And this is for all marketing documents as well. Also, moving on to the attachments window here, if I want to attach a document, click in here, I can choose if I want to copy this target document, copy this attachment to a target document or not. So if I'm copying this sales order to an AR invoice and I want this attachment to come over as well, I can choose that. And previously you were not able to copy attachments.
Yeah, one more thing to mention here is that SAP also added in this version Udfs adding to attachments. So if you want to have like type of attachment and things of that nature, either for automation or visibility, you could do that as well. So you can add as many Udfs as you wish.
Fantastic. Thank you, Oren. All right, moving on, we are now able to make certain changes to production orders. So typically, if a production order was already closed, you were not able to change anything on it, but now with the new enhancements, you are able to update the remarks footer, the pick and pack remarks footer. In the summary tab, There's also a reference document area. You can add a reference document there. You can also add new attachments, and any user-defined fields that you have on your production order, you are able to edit as well. Moving on to the last piece here of our live demo, we want to take a look at the procurement confirmation wizard. So now, you used to only be able to select a sales order or a sales quotation as a base document, but now with the new enhancements, you are able to use a production order as a base document. Another thing to notice about the procurement confirmation wizard is that if for some reason, let's say you've run through a sales order or a sales quotation and it's created a purchase order, and for any reason that purchase order was canceled, you now will have the option to add those items from the canceled purchase order back into the procurement confirmation wizard so that they can be selected on the next procurement run.
Perfect. I just want to add something here as well. So as we're looking at that production order, we can launch that procurement confirmation wizard right from the production order with this procure items checkbox.
Right. Thank you, Beth.
On that one. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Wonderful. So we'll just jump back into this. I know we have just a couple more minutes, so Kaitlyn's going to cover really quickly some of the other enhancements that we didn't have time for in the live demo, but still wanted to bring you visibility to.
Right. So thanks, Beth. Here are just 3 authorizations that are really important. You have the authorization to remove opportunities. So at the moment, anyone with access to opportunities is able to remove an opportunity. Maybe you don't want all users to have access for that. Maybe that's something you only want sales managers to be able to do. Another new authorization is the ability to view other users' payment drafts. So typically in the past, users were only able to view their own payment drafts, but let's say you are an accounting manager and you want to know how much revenue you expect to be coming in or going out within a period. You have the ability to look at other people's payments here. And finally, there's authorization to view a change log if you have read-only user authorizations to that document. So let's say you are a user that only has read-only authorization to the item master data. You need to go in and see if the name of an item has changed. Previously, if you were read-only, you wouldn't be able to see that change log, but now you have the ability to have authorization to view that change. Next slide, please. All right, so connect contact person and address. Here you see there is on the business partner master data, there's connected address for your contact. You can choose the bill to or the ship to address for this business partner, the contact person associated. And so if you select one of these connected addresses,
Kaitlyn, we have a minute left, so you may want to run through it faster.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, any address that you have associated with the contact person will be replaced by either any of these addresses you select. Next slide, please. All right, printing enhancements. Typically, in the past, if you had any bill of material components associated with an item, and it would show up on a sales order unless you did any manual any manual changes on your Crystal reports to hide that. But now with just a simple click of the button, you can hide your bill of material components. And also, once you are now able to also set a default layout directly from the report and layout manager instead of drilling in directly to the document, let's say a sales order, and then you have to navigate to the default layout window. And finally, A feature that I'm really excited about is the copy selected form settings. So in the past, if you were not using UI configuration settings, if you wanted to copy user settings from one user to the other, you would have to copy all form settings. But now let's say you only want to copy a sales order form to all other users, you can just select that one.
Perfect.
And
yeah, before we wrap up, I'll cover this last one. So this is a new kind of feature that's becoming available in the next patch. It's called document information extraction. SAP is enabling it first for the AP invoices. But what this does is takes a PDF, maybe that's emailed to you, reads the data on the PDF, and uses that to create an AP invoice in SAP. This really shows SAP's commitment to bring these intelligent technologies right into SAP Business One. And, personally, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this grows, what other documents may be included in the future. And overall, and thanks for sticking with us as we go over a little bit, but just to kind of wrap up, we covered our web client, some of those key features, recent updates that are made in the latest patches, and then as always, we have some documentation for you. So this will all be shared as we publish the blog and as we send out this recording and presentation via email. But some SAP documentation about 10.0. If you want to learn more about the web client, SAP has put out some really easy to follow, informative videos, as well as a consolidated place for different tips about the web client. And then we've included some documentation here as well with links to our original 10.0 webinar, as well as the 9.3 and 9.2 webinars if you're on an earlier version and want to get caught up with all the enhancements that have been made. So I know we're over. Feel free if you do have any questions, pop them in the chat or send us an email. I've included mine and Kaitlyn's emails here as well. We're always happy to answer any questions that you have and are hoping that this has gotten you a little bit excited for 10.0 and looking forward to upgrading.
Really great job, both Kaitlyn and Beth. This was an excellent webinar. Thank you so much for walking us through that. And yeah, again, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you all and have a good and long Memorial Weekend coming up.
Lauren, I'm surprised you didn't say Happy Friday.
Yeah, I know.
You joined after I said it, but I had told everyone Happy Friday 2 times. So happy Thursday. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And have a great and safe long weekend.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.